Thank you, God. To feed and to be fed. The first book I ever asked for a copy of was Mysteries of the Unknown from Time Life. For the uninitiated, Mysteries of the Unknown was an encyclopedic collection of Fortean and paranormal events and mysteries. From aliens to the pyramids, from Bigfoot to poltergeists, all were held in the pages of Mysteries of the Unknown. Even before I could read, I gathered a small collection of these types of books and I would pore over them. Aliens, cryptids, ghosts. I would drink in every detail of these stories. I loved them. But sometimes it keeps me up at night. I've never been very good at sleeping. My mom still tells stories to this day about how I would keep her awake constantly as a newborn and toddler, screaming and crying without consolation. Some of my earliest memories are snapping awake from a half dream and being sure, I saw a metallic face peering at me from the window next to my bed and lying awake frozen in terror all night. Or curling up crying myself to sleep outside my parents' locked bedroom door because I had to learn to deal with my nightmares on my own. And so I did. Through night terrors and sleep paralysis, I learned to recognize what was happening. Realized there definitely wasn't Tim Curry's Pennywise pounding on the bathroom wall and hungrily screaming, "I can feel him falling asleep. I can almost taste him." Real life is not like Mysteries of the Unknown, right? A couple of years ago, I bought tickets to see the band The Midnight in New Orleans with my fiance, now wife, Bethany. We booked a boutique hotel called the Historic Mardi Gras Inn, based on the recommendation of a friend in the Marigny area. It was a cool spot, just east of the French Quarter, and the hotel seemed nice enough. It was a little smoky and dingy, but we weren't planning on hanging out there much anyway. Just sleeping. We put our bags down that first night and we set off to the show. The next morning, we walked the half mile for Cafe Beignet and coffee in the French Quarter. We were being goofy and in love, holding hands, stealing kisses. We real cute. As we were exploring, we took a turn down one of the less populated streets of the quarter. It was an older part. It felt colder, somehow removed from the crowds, quieter. And that's when I tripped. It was just a stumble, but there wasn't even a crack in the sidewalk. I didn't fall on my face or anything, but I had to catch myself from falling. I remember Bethany asking if I was all right and looking a little puzzled. I nodded, yeah, and we kept walking. I was doing fine for a block or two, but then this old ankle injury just started to flare up. We had a lovely lunch. We stopped by a tiki bar and went antiquing. We decided to head back to the hotel and take a nap before a lovely dinner, and then back to the hotel. The whole time, my ankle was a little off. We laid in bed and started to doze off with the TV on, but I snapped back awake and quickly shut it off. Now, as I lay dreaming, I found myself on a boat in the middle of the ocean with my father and two brothers. One of them shoved me overboard, and as I treaded water in the deep and endless sea, I felt something terrible rise up out of the ageless darkness and snatch onto the ankle that had been bothering me that day. I struggled out of my sleep, and I heard a knock on the mini fridge by the door to the room that shot me full awake. I groggily slid my head to look in that direction when I saw it in the corner. I looked to my wife to confirm if she had heard it too. She lay there quietly, and I assumed she was sleeping, so she didn't see the small, squat man in the pinstripe suit by the locked door to our room, standing, watching with a kind of pleading for acknowledgement I sensed more than I saw. His eyes were hidden in the shadow of the brim from a hat pulled low on its head. I can't explain if it was there or not. I can't even explain why I rolled over and went back to sleep after I saw it. I mean, as I've said, because of sleep paralysis, this stuff is not really that new to me. I was starting to drift back to sleep when I felt what I thought was Bethany grab me and pull me towards her, pressing her lips to mine. There was aggression, cigarette smoke in the kiss. There was a violation in the way the hands groped in my hair and my chest and lingered on my crotch. There was so much wrong about it that I pushed her away and looked into her eyes, but I couldn't see them. There was a pallid complexion to the figure that was in my bed staring down at me. It had the vague shape of my wife and her shaggy bedhead, but there was something menacing and foreign about the way it held itself. There was the deepest shadow out of place and drawn across her eyes, so I couldn't even see the shape of them at all. Just a limitless black streak above the bridge of her nose. And there, floating along the ceiling, behind the head of the figure that was wearing the visage of my fiancé, were a pair of cadaverous purple and blue legs. They were just floating against the ceiling. As I watched, they jumped with shock as if they didn't expect me to spot them, and they slowly slid behind her head, as if hiding. And then, like a changeover in a movie, I was alone. The room was freezing. Bethany was lightly snoring, oblivious to it all. And I stared at the ceiling until the sun came up. Now, the next day was rough. I had only gotten a couple of hours of sleep before Bethany woke and started to get dressed. After a shower to wash the night away, I started to tell her about my wild dreams, and she froze. A knock? Like a full 3 taps like you would hear on a door, she asked, her eyes wide. Well, yeah, it was like 3 quick taps, but it sounded like it was on the side of the mini fridge, I confirmed tentatively. I heard it too. But I refused to look because I knew I was going to see something I didn't want to see. Now, even though she corroborated my story, I was still unconvinced. I mean, what's worse is my ankle was throbbing. I mean, it wasn't swollen. I could put my weight on it and walk pretty normally, but it felt like shattered glass. I mean, it hurt so much I felt like I was just going to pass out. We puttered around town, like doing elder millennial stuff, before we were scheduled to meet up with her old friend Anita, who now lived in town. And the whole time, I could barely stand. All of this pain and exhaustion from the night before was building up into a pretty foul mood. I'm usually a laugh-it-off kind of guy, but there was something different in my attitude. I just kept thinking about how I was going to have to drive 5.5 hours with my bad ankle working the pedals, and I just wanted to be home. I barely slept. Why did we have to go see her friend? Couldn't we just go? These were the questions that were sitting on the tip of my tongue, ready to start a fight. It made me think about how my books, all said people living with ghost experienced the changes in their temperament. Now, Anita met us at the door with her arms wide and a broad smile. As she showed us around her home, which she and her partner were packing up to move to Arizona, she told us about how a major part of the reason she had moved to New Orleans had been to deepen her practice of mediumship and magic. She was meeting regularly with a mentor in town and coming out of the broom closet, as she put it. Now she was openly exploring a new spirituality and was even consulting with clients as a spirit medium. As we were settling in the kitchen after the tour, I said we had visited the French Quarter the day before, and Anita immediately asked, "Did you guys pick up something bad from there?" Bethany mentioned, "Well, that's interesting you ask, because Sonny had a really rough night sleeping last night." Anita shrugged. "Well, there's a lot of dark history there, and so there are a lot of things just waiting for someone to latch onto." Suddenly, she bounced with glee and exclaimed, "I'll go get my kit." She bounded out of the room, excited to practice her talents, and returned with a black Crown Royal-sized bag. "This is just my travel kit," she said as she rummaged. "My real stuff is already packed up, but I'm sure I've got some. Here it is." Her hands drew out a small, simple-looking plastic bottle with no label and a sprayer nozzle on top. "This is just some moon water with quartz powder and some other herbs. It's great for cleansing. Would you mind if I sprayed you?" And there it was. It was a simple question, but wrapped up inside of it was a struggle I've been going through my whole life. Were there really mysteries of the unknown? Did you hurt your ankle walking too much on bumpy streets and sleeping in a weird motel last night that triggered your sleep paralysis? Or are you carrying a ghost? "Sure, let's try it," I said. She guided me by the hand to stand away from the counter and opened the back door. Then she took her sprayer bottle and began the process, spraying from the top of my head and down my body. She moved down my chest. Her eyes were focused beyond me and had the hard look of a jeweler looking for imperfections that were difficult for the eye to see. She went down to one knee and continued her light mist down to my waist. Her face scrunched up when she got to my crotch, and she sprayed some extra. Ew, something got you there." Yeah, that's what she muttered as she followed down my right leg and my painful ankle, where she spent extra time spraying before returning to my crotch to spray more. "It's really stuck there," she mumbled again as I stood awkwardly. "Okay, let's get it out of here," she announced before grabbing a feather and sweeping down my body. She swept over my feet and all around the floor of the kitchen, all toward the open door, muttering as if she was shooing an unruly pest out of the kitchen and into the backyard. Then she shut the door, satisfied, sprinkled some herbs onto my feet, and instructed me to stand there for about 30 minutes. We talked for the next 2 hours. I found out she grew up near me. She, too, grew up with bad dreams and sleepless nights that persisted into her day-to-day life. Her family, too, told her it was nothing. But she decided to believe in herself, to see the world in a more magical way and embrace the mystery. Anita's perspective strode the balance between the two worlds. She said, "We bury our dead above ground here. The water is so high that even if we buried them in the ground with the first good rain, they would float back up to greet us again. That's why the city has ghosts. All that history of violence and indulgence stays here because of the water and the spirits sitting on top of it." It makes the city hungry. And people come here all the time to revel in it, to get drunk and party and enjoy life. And the city encourages it. It loves to indulge you in food and drink and music and sex and anger. But it also likes to eat too. It loves to feed and to be fed. We all talked together for hours. In the end, my ankle felt better. Good as new. In fact, it hasn't given me any problems since. Now, did Anita heal me with herbs and moon water? Did I get groped by a ghost in New Orleans? Was there a squat ghost in the corner knocking on the mini fridge and watching my wife and I sleep? What does it matter? I mean, whether it was spirits from beyond the French Quarter or a bad dream, I still had a terrible night's sleep. Enough to make me resent my wife for the morning and act like a man possessed of a new spirit. So wasn't the end result the same? Maybe truth is different from reality. Sometimes they overlap, sometimes they don't. Maybe I can just learn to accept that everything is a mystery of the unknown. Thank you.